Comicscape Journal, March 13, 2020. Direct market bleeding out in an alley. Death by 1,000 cuts. This industry's afraid of me. I've seen its true face. The shelves are extended gutters, and the gutters are filled with diversity. And when the stacks finally get too thick, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated karma of all their derangement and entitlement will foam up around their waists. And all the so-called professionals who called us bigots that blocked us will look up and shout, "Save us!" And we'll whisper, "No."
Phenomenal. Was phenomenal. Always phenomenal. Having a good old VB. Man, it feels weird. It's been so many years we've had that Cheers theme going, and now it is no more. Pour one out for the Cheers theme. But I've got to find a new one. I'm just using videos that I have lying around. And hopefully, I thought more music. I don't know. The music, that's what seems to get us in trouble. But we'll power on nonetheless and keep doing the show. Of course, welcome everybody. What a show we had yesterday. Possibly, I didn't think it was the biggest, but maybe the second biggest ever late night with Comicsgate. 1,000 views in a day. I think the biggest one we had before that in terms of live viewers was when Ethan came on, but the biggest one was when we had Shane. We were talking about manga. But thank you, everyone. I see already people are saying bring back Mel. Well, she can't stream every night. She has a household to run. And that's just the way it is. But we've got Gabe coming in tonight. I think we'll just do like a Joe Rogan style conversation, except I won't be as charismatic or popular. But we'll lean heavily on the chat like we always do. And it'll be fun times had by all. But before we do any of that, Jeremy Burt's back in the number one pole position, which is exactly where he belongs, right up there on my. Oh, I nearly had it. There we go, right there. Great to see Jeremy Burt's. We got Green Laser in the house. Louis Fillets here. McGregor Ball says hail, and what an appropriate avatar he has today. We got Snuggy Jr. in the house, Arthur Lyon, Nicholas Gear, Old Man Hawk, Micro's back for another bite, Felix Huss, the Link Master. We got Danny. He's got Danny's saying he has faithful followers and fans. There's always room on Danny team. Well, I mean, sure, maybe. I don't know if they're faithful, but go at it. Have fun. David Feed is in the house. We got Eric. He's saying B-Rose gay. Obviously, I mean, he's a tiara wearing, chicken grease eating, ambiguously Mexican comic book creator. What else could he be? Aardvark is in the house. Woodrow's here. Great to see Wood, man. Woodrow's book is looking so good. Can't wait for that thing to get out. We got Raiden Radio, KSS. I'm in black, KSS. Always. This shirt is so big. It's not shrinking. Usually they shrink. I feel like I'm in a tent wearing this thing, but I do like promoting the old Phantasm Club. Mr. Monkey's here. Who else is here? RJ. So many RJs in CG. Sam Rogers, James Hayes, Lord Ravener, Eric Grant is here. I'm scrolling down. I'm trying to find. I was sweating there, Mo. You had me sweating. Hail Mo Biggs. Dun Ringle is here. How Dun Ringle too? He sees me out there in the wild, and he always says hello, and I appreciate that. I appreciate Dun. Cullen is here. I don't know if Cullen appreciates me as much as Dun Ringle, but I'm happy that he's here nonetheless. All right, let me shoot this link to Gabe so that he can come in. Unfortunately, we don't have Joe again. Family stuff. You know what it's like when you're a family man. Joe has a couple of kids. He's got to look after them. So it'll just be me and Gabe tonight, and all of you. I nearly put the stream. I was so close to putting the StreamYard link into the chat. What a disaster that would have been. It's happened before. But I just sent it to Gabe. Whew, that was close. Why can't I use my brain when I stream? Mel's like, you make everyone think you're an idiot. And I was like, I can't help it. I cannot help it. I apologize to everyone who I can't say hello to, but there's too many of you here. We got 50 people. Thank you so much for choosing to join us here tonight for this discussion and promo. Gabe's cool. I like getting Gabe on the channel. He knows things. He has insights that I lack. I was just hanging out with Ethan. I don't know if you guys saw it. Thank you to everyone who shouted me out in the chat, and Dan Frager. Am I roboting again? What is going on with the internet? Goddamn Australian internet. There's nothing's changed. It's like gas station sushi, says Raiden Radio. Man, this is so annoying. It's not AOL, but it may as well be. God. We got Vilned here. Why is Bancroft 40p? I don't know. There's something. Everything is going wrong. Everything. I've got the cameras playing up. I might have to change cameras. The microphone keeps cutting out. The internet is going to shambles. Gabe, what is happening? Why is everything falling apart?
Things are good here. What's happening in Australia? Your internet's no good.
Yeah.
You know
My
why?
internet roboting. So if I robot, Bancroft is like 240. I'm better now because I'm smaller.
We need Elon Musk to buy Australia.
Yes. Or at least buy StreamYard. It couldn't cost that much.
How you doing tonight, man?
I mean, not many of us have a lazy, what is it, 43 billion?
Yeah.
Laying around.
How many billions do you have?
About 0.0000001 billion.
Right.
How about you?
I'm almost to my first billion. Almost. Just about almost a billion to go, but you know, it's just a matter of time, of course.
Yeah, we're all looking for that first B. Most of us. Although apparently during COVID, there were more billionaires created than any other time in history.
It's suspicious.
And I believe it. I think, can you hear those birds? I'm trying to do a stream, you crows.
I don't hear any birds.
Damn. Well, I hear them. They're annoying me. They're out there.
Oh, I hear it now. Is that a kookaburra?
No, it's not a kookaburra. A kookaburra is.
Oh, wow.
These are just like, just bog standard Aussie crows. I think they're actually called ravens.
How many birds can you do? That was a great kookaburra.
Oh, well, every Australian can do a kookaburra. That's pretty easy.
What about a wombat?
Mo, can you hear those birds? I feel like I am. Like for some reason, my camera started playing up yesterday. My internet's been going down. The freaking I don't know. Everything just seems to be against me lately. Although I was hanging out with Ethan earlier.
Oh yeah, he did a draw stream. I saw him post that. Yeah.
Things went well there. Thank goodness. Can you imagine? I got called up too. He was like, Bancroft, get in here, because I don't know if he saw me in the chat or people saw me in the chat and they said jump in there. Imagine you do that and it's all just roboting and birds and cameras not working. Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Just gotta lean into it. There's technical difficulties. Lean into them. Make fun of them.
How are you going, my friend?
I'm doing really good. Really good. Had a great day today. And I don't know. I live in San Diego. We can't complain like weather and all that. It's so nice here. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think San Diego is the equivalent of Sydney in terms of weather. It's just nice almost all year round. Yeah. Although maybe I think Sydney does rain more than California.
No, we don't. We don't get much rain here at all. We're really in the 60s, and I don't know what that is in Celsius, but 60s and 70s is 72 is room temperature in Fahrenheit, And that's
Mhm.
about what we average, just about 70, 75. It's very mild here. And yeah, nice ocean breeze at my house all the time and everything. I love it. I love it.
I could use a bit of that. I could use a bit of that. I caught your video earlier where
Which
you were
one?
chatting to Grandpa Rocky.
Oh, isn't he a legend, that guy? What a
So is he
guy.
just like a local thing, or is he like he said he's like
No,
somewhat
that's
related to a
family. That's
family
family.
member?
I'm not blood, but through marriage, that's my
Right.
sister-in-law's grandfather. So
I see. I
yeah.
see. Yeah. And it
No,
got me thinking about everything that's going on out there in the world, and everything that's happening in comics. You do it.
right.
You do it. I really like your channel. You kind of you put your heart on your sleeve and get out there and really show yourself.
Thank you.
And I think that's why you've grown so big,
Well, thank you. Well,
so
I also
quickly.
eat
I
a
think
lot and lift weights, so that's that's another
is that
reason I
what I
go.
need to do? He's look at this. He's like laughing. Yeah. No, I don't even lift, bro.
But
Yeah,
to
I
be
know that's
serious,
Fahrenheit.
I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
when
Well,
I
you.
came in here, I was flaming hot. You remember, I was angry and I
Mhm.
knew it, and it ain't good. You know what I mean? Even if it's righteous and you're in the right, it ain't good to be mad all the time. Nobody likes it. It's freaky. And you and Shanth were two guys early on that were talking about, hey, let's be positive. It's okay to call things wrong, but let's not be rabid dogs. And I remember it was you and Shanth talking about that a few months back. So Shanth and I, we do that great show on Wednesday nights, Double Impact. We started off just goofing, talking about these kind of movies. And now we talk about the movie for about half an hour, and then we just start, uplifting people and talking about life advice and how to never quit and things like that. And
Shant is perfect for that sort of stuff.
yeah, he's very
Like
insightful, very smart
man,
guy.
he has a gift of gab like very few others that I've ever seen. Michael doesn't have muscle because he rollerblades. I had lots. That's actually when I did used to lift because I didn't just rollerblade the streets. I was on the ramps.
Oh,
The big, like 20-foot vert
yeah.
bikes and stuff
You had
like
your
that. You got to do your squats,
right.
otherwise the compression does
Now,
you in.
did the rollerblades come with extreme Mountain Dew?
No,
I feel like
no, they
those two
didn't.
things go
But
together in the 90s.
I probably did drink some extreme Mountain Dew when I was skating and sweating up a storm,
Right.
putting my all into it. Mo says yes, Bancroft. We use F for freedom, not C for commies.
Hell yeah.
This is the thing, isn't it? I wanted to chat to you because you have the inside scoop. You would know better than I do. Just a very quick history on where I'm coming from.
Okay.
I started reading comics in the very early 90s, 91. And I didn't last too long because I was just
Oh,
a young, hapless Australian kid scrounging my money together to afford comics. And then they started forcing crossover events onto everything.
right.
And then all of a sudden, if I wanted to follow my stories, I was following mostly Spider-Man. They introduced Venom, bit of Ghost Rider. You had to buy friggin' all these different books. I wasn't interested. I fell out of it. It was actually your boy Zach who got me back into reading comics.
Really?
I was collecting because I never stopped loving comics, but I didn't like the new stuff. I liked the old stuff. I liked the 80s. I liked the Bronze Age.
Right.
And
Right.
it was your boy Zach who got me back into reading modern comics because I thought, well, here's a guy who I think I can trust, who is saying the sort of stuff that I believe, as in we should be just writing good, fun adventure stories and not the weird identity politics stuff. And he was making recommendations. That's how I got back into it. Eventually that turned into Comicsgate. And I was like, well, if I'm going to choose to spend my money on something. I'll spend it on Comicsgate. But that's where I came from. But I mean, you've been in the thick of it. You've been working in the industry. When did you get into it?
I started my first like comic book stuff was for Robert Kirkman, like in Invincible, like 12. I did a pinup. I would hang out
And
on the
what year
Image
was that?
Comics. I don't know if that was 2003 or 4 or something like that, but
Hmm.
that was my first professional comics work. I did an issue of Detonator, which is some Punisher stories that Mike Barron wrote, but he did it at Image, and the character was not called the Punisher; he was called the Detonator. That was the first book I illustrated. I illustrated issue 3 of The Detonator, I think in 2003 or 4 again. I can't remember. But I've been a
what was the
professional.
industry like then? Because I was like, I think I bought 4 comics in 2003. And they were all Star Wars comics. So I don't really have any sense of what the industry was like back then.
The thing about the industry and culture, comics and culture, it was very normy. You had far left and far right, and you had all the weird, crazy people. But what you didn't have is 2 things that changed in 2007. You did not have this device, right? This didn't exist. We literally, Twitter didn't exist. You know what I mean? Facebook was only at colleges. Like you had to have a college email address to get Facebook. So it didn't exist. Obama hadn't become president here yet to like accelerate the woke bullshit. And so wokeness of Obama getting
he
elected,
normalized it, didn't he?
you know
sort
what?
of
You don't even know, Michael, here in America, Republicans and Democrats were so happy when he was elected because we were hopeful, like, hey, maybe this is a good positive change. And maybe
it's like a symbolic, it's a symbolic event to sort of put the past behind and let's move forward together. And then the exact opposite happened.
Yeah. And instead he became the avatar for the exact opposite, just complete racial animus towards white people and a hatred of this culture. How can you have the leader of an organization, the president of the country, hate the country? It's the most divisive thing. It's really a shame. We all believed, left wing, right wing, we were all so happy, like, hey, maybe, like you said, we'll put it behind us, man. Golden future. Just forget the past. Who cares?
Did politics, and when you started in 2003, did politics matter in comics? Like, did anyone care? Did anyone ask?
You could say you were conservative. You could say you were a commie. You could say anything, and we would tease each other. You would make fun of each other. You know what I mean? You could say pretty much anything. It didn't matter. I would talk to Ethan back on the Brian Michael Bendis message boards, were legendary. So many people hung out there. It was called Jinx World. It was his own message boards. And I remember Ethan was saying all this stuff, and he was like he is today, like really silly, and he never gets hot under the collar. He always keeps his cool, and he's really funny. And I remember I private messages him. I'm like, are you really this guy, or is this an act? And he just wrote back to me. He's like, I don't know, with a bunch of like question marks and like a smiley, But I remember that was one of my first interactions with him, like 2004 or something like that, way a long time ago. But the woke, I mean, if you ask me how it was normie. And we all remember the world was normie before the iPhone, before Obama, before social media. When they look in the history books, I really think they're going to see that social media is devastating culture because it's an inferior way to be friends and interact and be intimate with people,
It did all start with that, didn't it? And I don't think it started everything, but it certainly accelerated it, and it made it possible to essentially take over. And that's what surely happened. That's where we were just chatting about it with Ethan. He was showing a video of some crazy woman. She was screaming at the camera saying, you white comic book creators, you don't get to monetize black pain. You don't get to tell stories about black people and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, so we're watching a crazy person. Let's laugh at her. And then I find out that the Warner, whoever is in charge of what's going on in the DCU, actually listening to her and saying and calling what's his name, Snyder, saying, hey, you got to listen to her. It's like, it's madness. And that's, social media put a person like that into positions of power, people who can stoke up the mob. It's crazy.
Right. Well, have you ever been somewhere in public and someone is causing a scene, a restaurant, riding a train, and someone's going ape shit? You know what I mean? What do 99% of people do when that happens? They just put their head down, right?
Well,
and they're like, oh my God.
They try and sort of avoid it. Yeah. And they distance themselves from the crazy person.
Oh my God, I hope this idiot stops. Every once in a while, you come across someone like me who says no to Jim Lee and Tom Taylor. No, I stand up and say, no, this is bullshit what you guys are doing. I know that's kind of crazy, but I had to do it. And I think we need more of it because I think most people just put their head down and go, oh my God, when will this end? And it's like, it'll end when we say it ends. And I think if we don't want to play by their rules, then we do what we're doing here. We make the best books we can. We deliver them on time, and we treat these fans like royalty. and we build our own pirate ship. Adam Carolla,
Mhm.
I don't know if you know
I
who
like
he is.
that,
He
pirate
always
ship.
says that. He says, build your own pirate ship. That way, no one can tell you crap, and you can make the kind of art you want to make that your fans want. So as long as we're good to these fans, they will be great to us, and they have been so far, man. It's been awesome.
Indeed, indeed. Michael Dietcher for 5. Let's get the super chats rolling. Anyone good enough to host my man Gabe deserves massive tips. Creative boss men on this panel. Thank you so
Let's
much. Gabe.
go.
That is very generous.
Let's go.
And Michael is already a super bogue, and I can see there from the thing. So thank you as well. Elongated Musk, who's I don't recognize that name in the chat, but I love it. For $2, social media is cancer. Maybe if Elon buys Twitter, it will be less cancerous. But yeah, no, it really is. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. It really is the or was the beginning of the end,
right?
For a lot of this. It still boggles the mind. That's what I want to ask you, because you know these people. You just said,
Right.
you know, you stand up to Jim Lee, you stand up to those guys. You said,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna continue on this. So when I talk about this stuff, it's very philosophical. Nice t-shirt.
Thank you.
Very hypothetical. I don't know any of these people personally. What caused a guy like Jim Lee, or a guy like, I mean, anyone who's been involved in the sort of slow decline of the comic book industry, what caused them to start listening to the mob? What about them? Why didn't they stand up to them and defend the industry? You know,
I can't read anyone's mind. So for me to say is speculation, but I'll go ahead and say what my theory is. But again, I don't know a man's heart. I'm not in his mind when he's laying in bed and, on the pillow, drifting off to sleep. And you know how we really think in the shower, in bed, whatever. But if I had to guess, since I worked in this industry and I've been up to Hollywood a ton and you interact with these people, it's money. At the end of the day, if you act right, if you say the words, if you do what they want, they're going to reward you for it. You know what I mean? The powers that be at these huge companies. And we do know the boring stuff with the ESGs. We can get into that if you want. But, the powers that be, they want it this way. They want to dismantle Western culture. It's not listen, if I flipped a coin 10,000 times and it came up heads every time, is that possible?
No, I've tried.
Well,
I'm a gambling man.
It's possible, but it's so unlikely that if you believed it, you're a freaking idiot, right? If you believe that it wasn't a loaded coin or some sort of trick, you're dumb. Of course it's possible, but it's so unlikely. It's a number we can't even imagine. So the fact that all of this stuff comes out from Disney and Warner's and all of it is going in one direction constantly is just a big middle finger to Western culture. That's not a coincidence. You'd have to have rocks in your head to believe that. So, I play American gridiron football. I played a ton of it and I coached it. And we have a saying there. And the saying is you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. But either way, if you're the boss, the buck stops with you. So if you're, what do you guys have down there? You got rugby, Australian rules football, cricket,
Aussie rules, yeah.
If the team is horrible, the coach told him to do the stupid stuff that doesn't work. Or he didn't tell him, but he watches them do it and he lets them get away with it. You know what I mean? So I would say to the bosses at Marvel and DC, you're either coaching that or you're allowing it. But either way, it's your fault and you need to be a man and do something about it. But I'm trying every day to be more on your vibe and Sean's vibe and not be angry. Like, no. I've got Truth, Justice, American Way. I finished the final draft of Beef Law, and I'm drawing the first page today. You know what I mean? I talked to Dave Williams about that, and he's really encouraging me. That's my next book. It's like a Steven Seagal, Van Damme movie. And I'm working on that. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about DC and all that anymore. I don't really care. I care a little bit, but I think it is best to move on in victory and just be like, have you ever almost gotten into a car accident or gotten into one, Michael? You don't have to talk about this.
I've gotten into many, and I've almost gotten into many more. And not because of me. I'm actually quite a good driver. It's everyone else. That's the problem.
So you got into a wreck, and you're okay, but you ever think about it and, like, get the shivers later? Like, oh, my God, that could have been death or whatever?
Yes, so close to dying.
Right.
Yep.
So not as serious, but that same sort of feeling when I think about DC Comics sometimes, I'm like, I got out of there just in time. I got out of, like, I told my wife, I'm like an action star where I got out of the building as it exploded. I'm jumping in the air with the flames behind me at the last second. And you and Graham and Ethan and Tucci and everyone's waving like, come on, run. And I just
jump into the pirate ship.
Right. And it
Come
just
on, let's go.
exploded.
Let's go plunder and pillage.
Yeah, it just exploded. And I look behind me like, oh my God, what could have been? So thank goodness
It's
for you
so
guys.
crazy what's going on over there.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
I
crazy.
think
But you're actually right. You're exactly right. And just like Sun Tzu said,
right.
you need to know your enemies. You need to know who you're up against. Why
Mhm.
did the SJWs why were they able to take over so much of entertainment? Because when they had their ideas, they got off their butts and they got to work. They
Right.
got to work taking over, instilling all their weird ideologies and all that sort of stuff. And us sitting around complaining that happened over the course of however many years isn't going to fix it. We've got to answer back in kind by offering an alternative
Right.
to that sort of rubbish.
And we have to find a way to keep our morals and integrity without becoming monsters like them. The reason they're so effective is they don't have any morality. They are ruthless. They will say or do anything dishonest, evil, vile, backstabbing, whatever, because the far left, not regular liberal people, I'm fine with regular Democrats, all that, but the crazies, we know what we're talking about. The cancel culture people, they have no scruples. They have no morality. So they're willing to do whatever to get their way. I mean, this is people joke and say you're being, Pollyanna and you're being exaggerating. The sky's falling. And I talk about my dad's hellhole socialist dictatorship he grew up in, where they take you away in the middle of the night for thinking wrong. You know what I mean? Or Russia, you go to the gulag. And I tell people, how do you think it starts? Do you think the gulag's there on day one? Like it starts with cancel culture. It starts
You
with
can't even say that. People
right.
have been cancelled for hinting at that.
Well, I just
Even
said
John
it.
Malin.
I
Even
just
John
said it.
Malin. Yeah, well, they can't cancel you if you're in the pirate ship, but if you're
Right.
still in
Yeah.
within their system, you absolutely can. I think that's what happened to Gina Carano, and
Right.
and we've been saying that here in Australia because we had it really bad, especially here down in Victoria during lockdown. It did actually turn very totalitarian,
Right.
and this is what we were saying. We're not saying that they have gulags yet. But we're saying this is where the gulag started. This is where the camp started. It's with stuff like this. It's with
Right.
dehumanizing us versus them, all that sort of stuff. And people just didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to listen, and they just laughed it away. I got a couple of super chats here I want to get to. Dojo Coon for 5. Thank you so much. He says, this Wednesday on the Dojo Coon Shill Shack will be the 420 on 420 show. You got Lord Crackhead, Billy Basco, Patrick Thomas Parnell, John Malin, and Dan Frager. Are you a smoker, Brian? I didn't know that you were down. You were cool like that, but maybe you are. It's a very stacked show of some of our finest pot smokers in CG. It sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it'll be very chill.
Is it
Whether you're into that or not?
is the herb legal where you live? Because it's illegal everywhere.
No.
It's legal all over the
No,
states.
it's decriminalized in some places, which
Okay.
just means they won't sort of, you won't go to jail for it. They won't take you to court for it, but they will arrest you for it and seize it.
Yeah, I don't, I don't do any, you guys know I don't drink or smoke or anything myself, but I do think it is really stupid to put people in jail for that. Like, what are we doing? That's such a waste of time and resources and money. Like
it doesn't make any sense to me either, but I understand sort of where it came from. But I think everyone's figuring it out now, and slowly the tide is turning. But I sort of take the South Park approach, where the dad was like, when your kids starting smoking pot, you just say to them, look, you're not going to get addicted, it's not going to turn you into a junkie or anything, but it's probably just going to make you a bit lazy. You're not going to really want to go out. You're just going to stay at home and smoke. You're going to lose your friends are going to keep doing. And that's an interesting way of putting it to a young kid.
Sure.
Michael Dici for 5. Again, SJW types invaded all big corps industry, especially HR departments. It's just more obvious in entertainment industries. Their products are public.
Right.
Yeah, and especially because there's big fandoms that monitor and participate in what they produce.
We had I believe he was Senator Joseph McCarthy here in the 1950s in America. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Mhm.
And he had his McCarthy hearings where he had learned that our government had been invaded by communists. And there were like 200 members of the Communist Party in different parts of American government at different levels. And then they invaded Hollywood and all this stuff. And he was, laughed at. And he's like, oh, it's McCarthyism. And it's like, no, he was right. They told
Yeah.
us, the communists told America, we're not going to fire one bullet at you. We're going to go into your movies and your books and your universities,
And
and that's how we're going
and
to
now
subvert
we're
you.
reaping the rewards of those
Right,
decades of their
right,
efforts, unfortunately, which is why it's so hard to unpack this because, like Michael said, they've infiltrated everywhere and everything. And I'm not saying like some people laugh at it because they think, well, I'm not a communist, but they're doing the communists' bidding. They have that mindset. We see that mindset all the time on the internet.
right,
That entitlement, the sort of pathological altruism, the wrong sense of fairness, not fairness in the sense of justice or innate fairness, but equity
right,
and
which is
forced
disgusting.
fairness, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Jason Sandberg for 5. Gabe, will TGA be coming out twice a year or 3 times a year? Do you have a target? I think
Cadence.
that's supposed to
The
be
cadence would be
audience.
like a rhythm.
Oh,
Um,
okay. All right. Okay. I get it.
right, right, right.
Thank you,
I
Jason.
I would love for it to come out 3 times a year. Stay with us though, because this is our first one. We're gonna get it out in October. That's the date. We're gonna get it out for sure. And I would love to do as many as we can. You know what I mean? So, I'm finished. I have like 4 pages left of Wraith of God, but I'm not going to take a lot of coloring jobs, on the side. I'm going to be drawing Beef Law, which I'm drawing my book, and then I'm going to be working on Truth, Justice, American Way as co-writer and colorist. And I hope to focus on those 2 things a lot. So will it be out 3 times this year? No, not in 2022. Maybe we could squeeze 2 out. I don't know. But we want to do as many as possible. And we want to build an entire superhero universe. Because I think if
Mhm.
Marvel and DC are going to leave a vacuum of something that people love classic superhero action. Hey, I'll pick up that fumble. You know what I mean? I'll pick
Yep,
that up
that's
off the
why. Yeah,
ground and say, I
exactly.
want to do
That's
it.
why we have to be here. We have to stay positive. We're not getting black pilled. We're not getting down on what's happening out there in the world. We're creating awesome new properties that because and there's so many of us now. We've all got very different things. I mean, your book is very different from my book, which is very different from a Joe Ball book or a Diaz brothers book or Cyberfrog. So there's something for everyone here.
Right.
And if they're like, oh, this really isn't doing it for me anymore, and they jump onto YouTube and sort of say, what's going on with comics, hopefully they'll find us and see what we're doing over here.
Yeah.
This is the way forward. It has to be.
Mhm.
Lord Ravener for 5. Gabe is right. They explicitly say what they intend to do, and our side hand waves and says, "Oh, that's impossible," and then it happens.
Right. Right.
It's very sad, isn't it?
Right.
It's consistent too.
Well,
Um,
you see that in all aspects of life, not just human beings, but animals. Picture a pack of little piglets or puppies. Who gets on their mama's teat? The one that's willing to push his brother out of the way. So you
mm,
see the SJWs, they have no scruples, no morality. They're willing to lie, beg, cheat, steal, whatever, betray to get what they want because postmodern SJW culture is a religion. And this religion has one commandment. And strangely, it's the same commandment as Satanism. Satanism, the commandment, and I'm a Christian, I'm against this, but their one tenet, the Church of Satan, is do as thou wilt. Do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. You are the center of everything. You make yourself your own God. And I see it clearly in the postmodern cancel culture people. Their entire ideology revolves around what gives me pleasure. That is holy. What gives me discomfort must be destroyed. You said something I don't like, Michael. You're not allowed to think that into the gulag
mm.
because you thought
Yeah,
something I didn't want you
it's
to think into the gulag.
bizarrely, you're right that it is bizarrely narcissistic, their
Oh, yeah.
worldview.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all me, me, me. You will kowtow to what I say and what I do and what I believe. And not
Yeah.
only that, you're no longer allowed to believe and say and do what you think is right.
Right.
Because now we've taken the monopoly over right and wrong as well. Yeah,
Right.
that's a really good point. Sean Crummell here, who's really getting active in the chats lately, which is great to see. Sean's
Oh,
been around on Twitter for a long time, but only just now starting to see him hang out in our chats, which is very cool. Gabe, when does the toy line start funding? I need a Justice figure bad.
It's funny you ask that. When I was in college, I worked for the biggest Halloween prop manufacturer in the world. Distortions Unlimited is in the city I went to school, and I went to church with the guy that owns the company. So if you go to a haunted house like anywhere in the world, and they have those like animatronic, like a zombie, like making noise, my guy makes them. He makes tons of stuff. Have you ever been to like, it's like a 300-foot long lizard, and you walk in the mouth and you walk all through the guts of a lizard? He sells these.
I haven't, but I can imagine.
I helped design that thing like 15 years ago, and I saw Jimmy Palmiotti walking through it with his wife like 3 days ago on Instagram, and I told him, hey, I designed that thing when I was in college. But anyway, I know that guy, and he hires Hollywood sculptors to make all his monster masks and all his stuff. And I talked to a sculptor about Truth, Justice, American Way stuff. So in the future, not now, not with this campaign, but yes, dude, I want to do maquettes, I want to do action figures, all of it. David Williams, his designs are so iconic. You know, he worked on Ben 10 forever. He worked on Superman, Batman. He comes from comics, but he was in animation and product design at Warner Brothers forever. And his sense of style and iconography is just unmatched to me. So absolutely toys someday, dude. Absolutely.
I don't know if you caught Eric July was tweeting about how he had a $27,000 bill on that he was paying for. I think it was for printing. Because he's printing all his books first, and Ethan retweeted and said, "Just wait till you get into toys; they're incredibly expensive." Right, but yeah, so right. I agree. Yeah, a little bit down the line, once you've got that fan base
right.
of loyal readers who are really interested not only in you and what you're doing on YouTube and in Comicsgate, but they're invested in the characters. I think everyone should wait until that happens. That's what Patrick did. I don't know how many Johnny Phantasm comics he had out before he launched the toy, but by then people really were digging Johnny Phantasm itself, the character. Yeah. So they were only too happy to come out and support it. John says EVS said he's not really making money on the toys. Yeah, but Ethan goes crazy on these things. You've seen is like, hey, we'll put like 3 heads and
his are McFarlane
variations level, and yeah. I get it. I totally get it. I mean,
I could see my 3 main characters about like He-Man figures, about like that. You know what I mean? I would like that. But oh shoot, you were saying something. I lost my train of thought. It's okay. I had something.
That's all right. Well, it was a good segue into Truth, Justice, American Way, which is your answer to all this nonsense.
Yes.
So each one of us is putting out our own property as an alternative. You don't have to put up with this nonsense any longer. There's so much going on, hundreds and hundreds of titles, hundreds of creators, a whole fun, entertaining ecosystem here on YouTube and on Twitter that you can get involved in, take part in. We don't have to give money to these people anymore who hate our guts and want to destroy everything that we sort of stand for. So that's what Truth, Justice, American Way is part of.
Yeah. Oh, I won't. Would you mind playing the trailer that's right there? Could you play that for them? It's about 45 seconds. Let everyone know what
this one right here.
Yeah, just push that play button right on Justice's forehead. What if the fake news canceled the world's most beloved heroes? When a tragic attack ends the lives of precious innocents, our most celebrated heroes find themselves blamed and canceled by the media that once glorified them. Now in hiding, will they be able to trust each other long enough to prove their innocence? Well, they better fight as hard as they can, because if they don't, an even bigger tragedy is coming. And this time, it will cost millions of lives. Truth, Justice, American Way, the 64-page full-color graphic novel. Get yours today, only on Indiegogo.
Now, Gabe, I saw there you have a black female protagonist there. Are you monetizing black pain?
I am. We needed representation. No. When David Williams was a little boy, an Olympian came to his middle school or elementary school, and she was a big guest, and she gave a speech to all the children there. And David has always been good at drawing, even since he was little. and the principal had David draw the woman, and they gave it to her as a gift in front of all the students. And David felt so honored, and he talked to this woman, and she changed his life. She really influenced him on greatness and stuff. What was her? I think her last name was Rudolph, and we use that name in this, but we use a different first name and stuff. So that it's a tribute to this woman that really touched Dave's life. She was an Olympian back in the 80s, I think. And ours is an Olympian, half Greek, though, half Greek, half Ethiopian. Her name is Amara Rudolph, and she finds out she has superhuman athletic abilities and fighting abilities. So she stops competing because it isn't fair. Does that sound a little topical? And we came up with this before that swimmer beat all those girls. We did. And she also has this crazy ability, frightening actually, to force the truth out of people. And if they don't want to tell the truth, they'll end up wanting to tell the truth. I'll just leave it at that. Has something to do with the golden stuff on her. So that's truth. Then we have Justice, our badass. You know, he looks like Judge Dredd and Punisher and Midnighter and Charles Bronson all rolled up into one. He's an absolute ass kicker, this guy. And, you know, he's committed to justice, but at all costs sometimes. So his friends have to rein him in once in a while. But, you know, he's got a real secretive past. What is he? FBI, CIA, Mossad, SAS? We don't know. Very spooky, very badass dude. And then we have everybody's favorite, everybody's All-American, the American Way. He's Joseph Ellis. He comes from a long line of those salt-of-the-earth, middle America kind of people. His dad worked at the steel mill. His grandfather worked at the steel mill. And one day, and I love this because it's a comic book, so you could do anything with science. Yep. One day, he fell into a vat of superpowered, supercharged American steel, and it turned him into a man of American steel from head to toe. And a lot of people would be, you know, they feel like a curse, feel destroyed, feel like their life is over. But he took that, his new powers and all that, and he took it as a blessing. So he could fight for his people and his culture and everything that ever gave him what he has. So these are our three heroes here. And a terrible tragedy happens, and they're canceled by the news because they're blamed for everything. And they have to figure out who really did it or what really happened, and they have to hurry. Because if they don't, like I said in that trailer, an even worse problem is coming that's going to kill millions. So this is about redemption. This is about never giving up. This is about relying on your culture and your family and your friends and stuff like that. It's an uplifting story. And you'll notice in the trailer and in my speech right here, I never said the word feminist, SJW, left-wing, Democrat. We're not going to pound you over the head from the right either. That's stupid too. We're just going to give you fun.
Yeah.
We think about...
No, we're offering what stories should be, what they used to be when you first got into comics, where you can enjoy entertainment, and it doesn't have to infringe and offend and rub you the wrong way. If you don't have to be on the extremes. I actually used to bring this up all the time, which was the Next Generation, which I think has a pretty clear sort of left-leaning bias in it. Star Trek does. And but you can still watch anyone, and you know, ever since I used to be on the left, Gabe. I used to be probably pretty far left, and you know, just as the world turned crazy, I found myself more towards the center right. And even traveling all that distance, you know, I can still enjoy those old TV shows because it's about values, principles that are, you know, that are human. It's not about politics. It's not about ideologies. It's about what we all agree on, shared values.
As the human experience. You're exactly right. And I want to tell all you, Michael, and the audience, I'm just like you. Sometimes I go on Comicsgate shows, and you know, it's smaller creators and they have less people, and I feel like people are like, oh man, he's here, he's a big badass. I want you to feel like I feel like I'm just like you. I have no arrogance about who I am or what I've done. I know what I've done, but I was just like you. I love to draw. I love comics. I like reading them. I like coloring. I like inking. I like writing stories. And you love all the same things. And I was minding my own effing business, just making comics, not bothering anyone, just having a fun time. And these woke weirdos came in like termites. And they just started eating up the walls. And the bosses didn't do anything about it. And it just got worse. And I remember being at DC and like thinking, that's a weird book. And then, you know, a year later, like, those are 5 weird books. And a year later, like, man, 30 of the books are really weird that we're doing. And then eventually every effing book we're doing is a joke at DC. It's terrible. So, I had to jump off the Titanic right into the pirate ship and wave goodbye. Adios,
That's what we
guys.
got to do.
I'll be
I
the
have to
same.
apologize to Mo Biggs because I did start talking about Star Trek, but it
You
had
got
to
it.
be done. I felt it fit right in. Lord Ravener is back at number 878. He says,
Let's
"Bow."
go. Thank you.
Hashtag crack
Thank
pack
you.
backs. I also found Mo knows the person that David must have been inspired by. Her name was Wilma Rudolph,
Well, there you go.
and here she
Yes.
is,
Yes, yes, yes.
a
And she came
runner
to his
from.
like elementary or middle school, and he just was so touched by her, he never forgot her. She really inspired him. So
Oh, look, and she overcame childhood polio
there you go.
to end up becoming an Olympic runner. There you go.
Right.
Very inspiring.
Yeah. So it's an homage to her. It's not her, but it's a tribute.
Yeah.
So David is an amazing man. I've only known him for about less than 3 years. We started on Bass Reeves together, and he's one of the most solid dudes I've ever met in my life. One of the absolutely most talented illustrators I've ever met. But that's like the least interesting thing about him. The kind of husband he is, the kind of father he is, the kind of friend he is to me. I wish you guys would see more of him online, and I think you eventually will. But he's such a pure artist that like he's just like, get me over the drawing board. That I have never met anyone that loves superheroes sincerely more than David Williams. It's a thing to behold, the reverence he has for this medium and just how much work he puts into it. He teaches me, he gives me art lessons. I'm already a professional illustrator. Like I've been paid plenty of money for 20 years to
He
draw.
sits you down.
No, he does. I send
like
him my work.
Gabe.
He sends it back better. He gives me notes. We talked on the phone today about dynamics today. You want to know what he told me? Let me blow your mind about drawing here. So we're talking about, like the contrapposto on the X, right? And I'll see how big my hand is in the camera, right?
Yep.
How Kirby would always do these big exaggerated hands. And,
Mhm.
and he said the purpose of that is you're capturing time in your drawing. Since these are static poses, how are we going to convey to the reader that time has passed, that there's movement, that there's energy? And he says, and that's why you don't draw like a photo. If you look at photos and you just copy the photos, then the hand is this big. You know what I mean? But you got
I fell into that trap when I started as well. I would draw. I would say, okay, how do I draw this? All right, well, I'll find someone. I'll find a photo of it similar, and I would kind of try and draw it like it is in the photo. And
Right.
you're exactly right. And then I would say, like, why is it? It's not working.
It's not
how
moving.
I want it to work. And then
Right.
you slowly start to realize, no, you can't just replicate real life on a comic book panel. It's got to, there has to be exaggerations. There have to be these visual tricks and techniques and languages and all sorts of stuff that you go into it. But you can't, obviously, you've got to study and essentially just do it.
Right.
I kept drawing, I kept lighting as a colorist. Here we go, some colorist talk.
Right.
It's something that I didn't know until I became a colorist. So you're lighting a face, and there's that there's this sort of the Terminator line. You've got it here on some of the, like the line where the shadow meets the light, or the highlight follows the contours of the face.
Right.
And I would light my characters, and they wouldn't look like them. And I go, but it is them. It is them. Why doesn't it look like the character? And then I just came to realize that you can't just do it how you think it should be because you think that's right. If it doesn't look right, it's not. If it doesn't look right to you, why do you think it's going to look right to the reader?
Right.
You've got
and
to
let's invert that.
Yeah.
Let's invert that, and we'll tell everyone out there trying to learn to draw a color. If it looks right, it is right. That's it.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be scientifically correct, photo perfect. If shit looks right, then it's right. Move on. If it looks good, then it's good. And
it took me way too long to learn. It seems like so. It seems so obvious when you word it like that.
Right.
But it took me a long time to realize. Just because, in reality, a hand can, I don't know, do that or something. That doesn't mean you should draw it like that in a comic, because people are going to go, "What's going on with that weird hand?"
Right. Well, you can see a lot of the Marvel and mainstream artists. They use that like magic poser and all that, and you can tell because Batman's hand will be like this in a fist, because that's what the poser can do.
Yes,
and instead of like
it's
with
not
like the knuckles
it's not exaggerated. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
And go look at a Jim Lee fist.
No, I noticed that as well
fist.
because I'm familiar with that stuff. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like it all looks like it all looks like weird mannequins. You know what I mean? It looks terrible, that stuff. And I see it being published in Batman, And
Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
in everything now.
who's the
It's in
editor that's
everything.
allowing
And
this?
I'm not. For the record, I use references for certain things. Like I'm a learning artist. Whether that's a crutch or whatever, it is what it is. But no, absolutely, you can't just take that stuff and then put it on a comic book page.
No.
You have to. There has to be some. You have to put some art into it, some artistry, some
Right.
storytelling, all that sort of stuff.
And
So,
yeah.
when I see it just sort of plonked, and they do it with backgrounds. I've seen it. They take a SketchUp background, and there's literally a button you can press where it says line art, and it line arts the whole background. And then that's what they use. And I'm like, you realize it just looks like a SketchUp background. It doesn't look like a room because has no visual language in it.
Yeah, you can see on the lamps and the bowls, it's not a circle. It's like you can see the straight line going around. Believe me, because I colored a lot of comics at DC, and you zoom in when you color, and I could see, oh, these are just 3D models from Google. This is bullshit. They didn't draw this, and I hated it because they can push a button and add Manhattan. Well, I can't push a button and color it, and I have to sit there and do all these buildings, and they just threw it in there. It's
you figure it out, colorist. Dojo Kun,
I'm
back
so
in number
glad
879. Thank you so much, Dojo.
What do we do?
Kun.
Oh, we're moving. Hey, Dojo Kun Comics. Thank you. Yeah.
Mo says most people can't do that with their hands, but Bankrupt has the power of the ginger root. I do, and that's sort of that's kind of part of this. I had a meme on my book called the ginger root hand because this is my first book. I did have trouble drawing hands, especially with forced perspective and stuff like that.
Sure.
Some of them were massive failures, and someone pointed out, it was actually Skip Edwards pointed out, that one of them looked like a ginger root. It became such a meme, we kind of lent into that, and then it became a mascot for the whole campaign. But it's about, I did draw a hand looking like a ginger root, but we learn and we get better, and we try harder, and we find the things that we don't do as well, and we improve on it.
Right.
Mortal V points out Bancroft still needs to get on Gabe. Yes. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I know I'm just starting to get into the whole getting out there and promoting and jumping onto other streams thing.
Right.
Outside of my bubble. A lot of the time it's work. I do this stream during my work hour, and the rest of the time when most of you Americans are streaming, I'm doing my day job.
Will you please call me a Yank and not an American?
You Yanks. Yeah, that's what my dad calls you. He literally does. He's like, when I say, hey, Dad, you should watch this TV show. It's brilliant. I'm not watching that Yankee bullshit. That's what he says to me. I think you got another backer here. You did.
I see him coming to the chat, and I'm typing thank you to them,
Backer 880.
Trying to personally thank them when I see it. If you back my book now, and Thursday night is a great night to back Truth, Justice, American Way, I will type thank you in the chat if I see it. That's what you get tonight. That's the free bonus.
Ronco Pop as well, back at 881. Well, they're really coming in now.
Gracias.
Thank you so much to everyone.
Merci.
We've got 10 minutes left in the show. Do you want to tell us about who we're looking at here?
Are they villains? Are they friends? Who knows? I always say this about these guys. If you stood in the dark with a red light in front of you and then lightning struck behind you, you would look bad too. So they might be good guys. They might be friends.
It is a very villainous lighting scheme. So
what about that lady though, huh?
It sounds like there's some ladies can be.
That lady, she's got a big personality.
She does. I can see. She's packing. She's packing a lot. She's front loading.
Michael, you have no idea how happy I am to not work at the mainstream, because you can't do that at the mainstream.
No, yeah. John was telling me about that.
I don't know if I told you this.
And Shane too.
Huh?
Shane and John have both told me about how they do their page, and then the editors come back and say, make the hips wider, make the breasts smaller, the ass flatter.
Like the last 2 years I worked at DC, I turned it into a little game because I got sick and tired of it, because they only attack what heterosexual men like. So if it was a big, nice butt or big boobs, they'd give you a hard time. So what I started doing is, when there were boobs and they were drawn pretty good, I would make sure to render the highlight and the shadow and the rim light and just make these 3D melons as big as I could make them with the lighting. And I would do it on purpose, because I knew I'd get an awkward email the next day, you know? And if there was ever like a butt shot in the camera, I'm putting a highlight and putting the crack and just everything. And
Get that lighting right on it.
yeah, just get them. And the editors they'd send me these stupid emails. Do you think you could reduce the rendering on the breasts in panel 3 on page 7? And one time in an issue of Young Justice, this queen, I don't know, from another dimension, she had a really low cut shirt and big boobs. And I really I did it so big that they had the artist redraw the art with the collar up high, and then I had to change the colors. So there you go.
You saw the recent, I think it was Conan. They had some woman on the front.
Oh my God,
looking sexy, and then they put her in a burlap sack.
Right,
a big blue weird thing on her head.
That. Yeah, I think they were trying to say he was offending Native Americans because the name of that character was another tribe's name for Pocahontas and blah 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 blah. And it's like, would you guys just stop already? You know.
You know what you were saying? Here's what it is. Here's what I think it is. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to it. I think we got where is it? Who is he? Drew in the house. He's in the chat here. He said it on Twitter. I think a lot of it is cowardice. They just, like I said, you saying, when people are getting crazy out there in the street, they just sort of put their head down because they don't want to they don't want to have a confrontation.
Oh, I got a perfect story about that. I was in downtown San Diego with my wife last weekend. We're driving on 4th and Market right in front of the San Diego Convention Center, and there's a man crossing the street completely naked with his hat over his crotch. And he's just looking around. He goes up to a car and tries to open the door to get in. And then he opens the trunk, and then the guy slams the trunk. And he tried to get in 2 or 3 cars, and no one was doing anything. Everyone was just looking at him that's weird. So that's that thing where someone's going crazy and everyone's just ugh. Yeah. But
they probably didn't want to touch him. I can believe that.
Do you think he got robbed? Do you think a prostitute robbed him? Do you think he lost a bet? I don't know what happened, but it was a bald guy in his 50s, just covering his crotch with a hat, walking down the street.
At least he knew enough to cover himself. So
yeah, I felt bad.
He could have just run into this. Could have just been the low point of his life, a story to tell his friends in a few years.
Yeah.
I forgot my point from earlier, but that's okay. I'm sure it was just some more nonsense.
Sorry, I had to regale you with my story. So
you got t-shirts on this campaign as well,
and I love those.
True. You can support whichever your favorite. You think your favorite character will be. Will it be Truth, Justice, or make your decision?
Can I play one other thing? I have an art contest.
Yes.
I have a video for it that's 30 seconds, 40 seconds long. Let me grab that promo. Art contest. Where's the Son of Art contest movie? Here it is. I will share that. I think I'm sharing it with you.
Yes, you are.
Okay. I hope this is the right movie.
Truth, Justice, American Way fans. It's time for Son of Art contest. Last month we had an amazing art contest with beautiful entries from people all over Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So we're telling you now, get your entry in. Draw your favorite Truth, Justice, American Way art. Tag me at Gabe Eltaeb on Instagram. Tune in Thursday, the 21st of April, 4 p.m. Pacific, and we're going to be giving out prizes of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. See you there.
Oh, that reminds me of a monster truck rally. I really had fun making that stupid little video.
Sunday.
It's $8.
I think after the success of Malin's one, there's so much positivity and awesomeness surrounding that art contest. I've become a big believer in them. I think if you have the kind of characters that would do well, that you certainly do in this book, that would serve an art contest well. I mean, if you want to draw a beautiful woman with the big boobas looking awesome, that's your thing. You want to draw.
We brought the boob window back. Now, if you buy the t-shirt, we don't have a boob window in the actual t-shirt. Ours just has a logo.
That's a good thing. I saw how hairy your chest was earlier, so that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
If you want to draw a tough Judge Dredd type guy, or you want to draw this American, more traditional American comic book hero guy, they're all there. And as well, you might want to, if you want to try your hand at that shiny chrome effect, which is always pretty terrifying if you're an artist and you have any experience with that.
When I got hired at Wildstorm, I was doing an issue of the Midnighter or the Authority. I worked on both. And the engineer is a character in the Authority, and she's made of all that chrome stuff, remember?
Mhm.
She's like a robot woman. And I'd never really colored a chromatic like person like that before. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just making it up. I was going. And
Yeah.
Randy Mayer, another color star, he helped me out. But that was scary. That was scary to like just, okay, color this issue. There's a metal woman. And I didn't have a ton of experience. You know, when I got hired at Wildstorm, I probably colored 10 comic books before I got hired. You know, I just took to coloring naturally. I don't know. I was just, I got
I
really
did.
good
I
at
had
it
to
really
do.
fast.
I had to do. Rob also had shiny metal armor in
Right.
Replicator 3, and I mean, I checked out what Kyle does on Cyberfrog. I checked
Right.
out what I didn't go to that length. I mean, that was involved,
Right.
but I think it worked out okay. But yeah, you're right. It's it is a thing. But man, we are up on the hour. That has gone by like that.
Can I know
That was
we're
quick.
on the hour, but can I show
Mhm.
you one thing since you're a colorist and you were talking about this, that, and the other? And I did want to explain one thing to anyone out there about that the two easiest things for anyone to get better at coloring, and then I promise I won't bother anymore. But I wanted
Let's
to
listen.
share this. Is that okay, or do we have a hard out?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me oh my oh, this is great. Sorry. Let me get this here. Okay, let me drag this over here.
The thing about coloring is you're always learning.
Right.
So
I'll share my
you know,
screen.
there's so many different ways of skinning the cat, so to speak.
Okay.
So
I'm
I'm
sharing the
always
screen.
open to learning new things. Oh, this piece.
Right. Oh, the gore is extra. That was Dale's idea after we spoke. This is the original image here. So this is Dale Keown and myself. This is Wraith of God bonus cover or whatever. I think this is a new tier Aaron put up. But Dale told me to add some blood in and stuff. And Aaron said, you know, we're not going to do that version, but I love it. But what I wanted to point out to you guys about color, the most important thing you can do is let the big shape win. Do not go in there and try and do all kinds of crazy details. Squint your eyes. What is the big shape of this thing that's drawn? And that's how I'm going to just keep my color to honor that. Okay, so just let the big shape win. But then the most important thing in color is not what color anything is. I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, so we see this character here, and we see he checks out in black and white, right? And if the image reads in black and white, it works because you have black and white vision. We all do. It's your peripheral vision, and it's the way your brain picks up on differences, black and white, and that holds the composition. Composition, that's Jack Kirby. That's everything. So check your work in black and white. You can add an adjustment layer, but I'll prove to you that black and white is the only thing that matters. Watch this. Let's see. Hold on. I'll prove it to you with a quick little thing I can do. Okay, do you see the image changing at all? Did it change?
I'm not seeing it, but it might just be
It did.
Oh,
I did that underneath the black and white to point out to you the colors you use don't really matter. It's the value, the lightness and darkness of your colors.
Yeah.
So that's two things I'll teach you about color. Let the big shape win, and the colors you choose are less important than the brightness or darkness of colors. Of course, colors matter. It does matter to pick the right colors. They matter for mood, but the black and white, that's the trick. That's where everything is really happening in the brain. That's all I wanted to say about color for you guys. So
excellent and very well put. Yeah, if you don't get the values right, it doesn't matter what you do with the palette or any other special effects, right? That sort of stuff. Right. I learned that the hard way, and it took many months of reworking and doing things to sort of get that to sink in. Eric Canetti gave me the exact same advice.
Okay.
While I was working on Replicator 3, he was like, you got to make sure in every single panel that that's working. And he just said the same thing, you know, it's got to work in black and white too. Gabe, it has been a pleasure. You've got a lot of people saying thank you for that there. Some aspiring colorists. Lord Ravenous says do it in $4.99. I don't know if it'll necessarily work. I don't know if there's many value shifts in that one, but I want to go back to your campaign because we got to do a refresh here. You were sitting on 818 backers, and don't look at the Australian dollars. That's just the currency of this channel. You're sitting on 52,000.
Australian funny money.
Exactly, the dollary do. You've picked up 5 new backers.
Hey, there
Thank
we
you so
go.
much.
Thank you guys
Up
so
to
much.
52, 3.
Fantastic.
Love it.
I think I came in here with 815. I think so. I think we
Oh,
picked
there
up
you
8,
go.
right?
8.
Awesome.
That is a
Ocho.
tidy little haul, which is great to see. A nice
Yeah.
little Bancroft bump, which is great.
Yeah.
We always like to see that. So I will thank you, Gabe, for coming on. We'll
When
be
you
back
coming to
tomorrow,
me?
guys.
When are you gonna face me on my turf? I think you're ducking me. That's what I think.
It's time I come over and I face the music. I think
Right.
I will come over and we'll organize that. Because
Okay.
I do need to, and I do want to. I want to get out of this bubble that I've found
Right.
myself in here on this channel.
Right.
So that absolutely will happen. So thank you, Gabe. But the biggest thank you of all, as always, goes out to you guys out there in the chat. The most amazing, incredible, spectacular, and phenomenal, sexiest chat in all of CG.
Yep.
You guys rock. I will see you tomorrow night. But until then, have a great one. And I will see you later. See you guys. Bye.
This country, you gotta make the money first.
Truth, Justice, American Way fans. It's time for...
Then when you get the power, then you get the woman. That's why you gotta make your own moves.